Hello, dear friends. I'm delighted to welcome you back to my channel today. I wish you all a wonderful day filled with positive energy. Today's story will fill you with joy and delight. When Han Jie was helping Juin move the old house from the garden to transform it into an animal shelter, everything seemed simple until something unexpected happened. A shocking situation left Juin in a state of despair, searching for her with desperation, and ultimately crying without uttering a word. Every moment of tension felt like the air was heavy, making the hearts of those who witnessed it pound with indescribable force. What happened to her? Why did Juin fall into such deep pain? And most importantly, how will this story end? Pain or hope? So you don't miss any details, I invite you to sit back comfortably and follow me. I'm certain you'll feel moved and inspired by the end. And above all, you'll realize the value of family bonds, unity, and strength in facing life's challenges. Let's begin this journey together, full of emotions and surprises. That morning, the sky still carried some of the night's chill, and Dee arrived early at Juin's courtyard, just as they had planned the previous day. The rooster's crow echoed in the village as the sunlight spread across the dirt road, signaling the start of a new day. She had come to help dismantle the old house and move it to the back courtyard, where it would become a shelter for animals. Before leaving, Dee took little Maya to school. During the trip, the girl told her about the innocence that lit up everything like the dawn's glow. When she returned, Dee was surprised to find Juin had already started. In the middle of the courtyard, she dismantled the wooden planks with her slender hands and piercing gaze. The garden, which until recently was full of harmful weeds, now looked clean and organized, ready to receive the relocated house. Dee approached and said softly, "Have you started arranging things?" Juin looked up, smiling. Despite her exhaustion, her cheeks were flushed from the sun. "Yes. And you, how's Maya doing on her way to school? Did she behave?" Dee nodded with a gentle smile. "She's fine. On the way back, I stopped by a friend's house to ask for help with a task, but he wasn't there today. He had gone to work." Juin sighed but didn't lose her enthusiasm. "Then I guess we'll have to do it together, right?" "It'll be fine," Juin replied with determination. "With effort, we'll manage." And so, the two began working. They unloaded heavy planks while escaping the heat. They collected small pieces and scattered items. They moved in harmony as if they understood each other without words. Amid the sound of wood and hammer strikes, laughter emerged, and brief moments of silence brought warmth amidst their exhaustion. The sun shone, and sweat soaked their clothes, but their glances showed no surrender. Juin paused for a moment, brushing damp hair from her forehead, and whispered, "This house has protected us for years. Now, by moving it to the garden, I feel we're not losing it but transforming it into something useful. It's like starting anew, but with memories." Dee looked at her with respect and replied in a deep, calm voice, "The old is the foundation of the new. And most importantly, you'll have a better life from now on." They stood silent for a few seconds, contemplating the change taking shape. Amid the rustling wind and creaking wood, they didn't just see the work of that day but also the future they were beginning to build together. Juin's old house had been deteriorating for years. White ants had eaten away at its wooden beams, and it had crumbled to its core. She and her husband had dismantled it completely, leaving only the kitchen, which seemed sturdy. Their plan was to move the fireplace's legs to the back garden, where Juin had already cleared and prepared the ground. The morning continued slowly with the sound of wood. A hammer, the creak of planks, and the sound of falling wood. After a period of helping Juin, Dee started to feel tired. She thought they were working early and were probably hungry. So, she returned to the kitchen, took a basket of vegetables, washed them carefully, and boiled them in a pot. As soon as the water started boiling, the fragrant smell of corn filled the room, bringing her a moment of calm. Meanwhile, outside, the work continued above the structure, dismantling one plank after another and separating the frames with patience. Her shirt was soaked with sweat, but her face reflected perseverance and determination, knowing that every effort was building a better future. As she lifted the pot with the cooked vegetables, a strong gust of wind blew. Bam! A painful scream from Dr. Juin's body rang out. She dropped the pot to the ground involuntarily. The lid flew off, and hot steam rose into the air. She screamed in despair, her heart pounding heavily. Her trembling voice disappeared as she ran toward the old house. She crossed the courtyard as fast as she could, her heart beating like a drum, her mind drowning in images of collapse under the rotten wood. When she reached the scene before her eyes, it was as if everything stopped for a moment. What really happened to Dee? Was she trapped under the structure, or was it just a simple accident? The answer remained a mystery, but the truth is that moment left Juin paralyzed, her soul trembling with fear of losing the person who had become her greatest support. And you, dear reader, what do you think happened to Dee in that dramatic moment? The sound of the collapse still echoed in her mind as Juin ran to the scene. Before her eyes, part of the old kitchen had collapsed. Bricks, tiles, and rotten wood were scattered on the ground, raising a cloud of dust that stung her eyes. She looked around in despair, her heart sinking because she saw no trace. Dee! Dr. Dee! She screamed, her voice trembling with fear. She ran through the debris, her heart pounding, her breath short. Suddenly, in one of the corners, she could make out a familiar figure emerging from the rubble. "Can you hear me?" she shouted with a broken voice. After a few seconds, from amidst the pile of debris, she heard a faint reply. "I'm here. I'm here." Hearing her voice, Juin felt her soul return to her body. Without thinking, she knelt and pushed the debris with her trembling hands. Finally, she saw her. She was trying to pull herself out, her face twisted with pain, but her gaze was steady, trying to appear calm. Juin rushed to her, grabbed her arms tightly, and pulled her from the chaos. As she helped her stand, she asked repeatedly, almost crying, "Are you hurt? Does anything hurt? My God, I was so scared." She shook her head gently, her face covered in sweat and dust. "I'm fine. I was only trapped for a moment. Thank God you arrived in time." When she saw Juin breathing, she calmed a little, though her tears still held back her vision. She squeezed her hand tightly, her voice trembling. "If something had happened to you, I don't know what I would have done." In that moment, amidst the wreckage of the old kitchen, they stood staring at each other in silence. After the fear she felt, Juin understood one thing clearly. Dee's presence was more precious than anything else. Juin's face was distorted, her eyes red from crying when she saw her lying under the rotten wood remains. Her heart nearly stopped when she managed to whisper, "I'm fine." Then she lost consciousness. In that moment, Juin drowned in despair. She knelt beside her with trembling hands, shaking her repeatedly, screaming, "Wake up! Don't leave me, please open your eyes." Her tears fell on her face and soaked her dusty shirt. She tried to pull her from the debris, but her body was too heavy. All her attempts were in vain. In the midst of panic, she raised her voice with all her strength. "Is anyone there? Help, please." Only the wind responded, rustling the dry leaves in the courtyard. There was no one, and only her desperate cries remained. The pain trapped her. She hugged her like a child, pressing her tear-soaked face against her chest. Then, suddenly, she felt her body move. Her eyes opened slowly, and with a weak but determined gesture, she wrapped her arms around Juin. Her hoarse, silent voice broke. A faint smile appeared with the word. Juin looked at her, stunned, her tears still glistening on her eyelashes. "Are you okay? Are you really okay?" She nodded calmly. "I'm fine, don't worry." She hugged her closer, as if wanting to erase all the fear she felt just moments ago. She looked at her through her tears and relief, with a look of blame. "So, you tricked me? Do you know how scared I was?" Her harsh and warm laughter silenced her. "I was joking a little. I wanted to see how much you cared." Juin tapped her gently on the shoulder, still crying. "You're cruel," I thought. I thought I lost you." But in her eyes, there was a mix of anger and tenderness shining. It revealed the shock of what she felt. Dee had become an inseparable part of her life. She watched Juin with a calm smile, realizing that moment showed her the depth of her emotions. Fortunately, the collapse left only minor scratches. There, amidst the remains of the old kitchen, the two stood silent, embracing. They had overcome their greatest fears, and she confirmed her true love. In that moment, without words, the embrace was enough. Enough to erase the pain, enough to confirm that happiness is sometimes born from the weakest moments. A single mother, raising a child while making a living, had often seen that dream as too far away. But now, that seemingly impossible thing appeared before her eyes. Behind this joy were countless hearts that came together. Achieving the best results is the best thing possible with everything new and useful, and the skillful hands of the brother. He had turned a bamboo sign into a room full of happiness. Huynh stepped into the room, gently touched the smooth walls, then sat in front of the sturdy mirror. This is the reality. This application was created by choosing the best possible option. Turning to the brother, she saw he was still adjusting small strands, her eyes welling up again. At the same time, there are many things you can do, and it's a wonderful thing to care about. Everything new in the world of technology is what you're looking for. Sharing is a wonderful and inspiring thing to care about. When we reached the workshop, we waited with heavy hearts as the mechanic inspected the fiery red bicycle. The sound of metal tools echoed in the air, mixed with the smell of grease and oil. He watched every move tensely, like a father watching a doctor examine his sick child. After a long period of inspection, key turning and rattling, the man shook his head and sighed deeply before speaking. This bicycle hasn't been used in a long time, and it's very old. Its engine is severely damaged. If you want it to work properly again, it needs a complete rebuild. I felt heavy in my stomach. With a trembling voice, I asked immediately, "And how much will the repair cost, sir?" The mechanic looked at us seriously and answered slowly, almost regretfully. "It's expensive. Several main parts need replacing. It's not a simple fix." Those words hit us like a bucket of cold water. Jay and I exchanged glances in silence. Then we looked at the bicycle. We had just reclaimed it, and now it slipped from our grasp again. We knew well that money wasn't enough at that moment for such an expensive repair. There was no choice but to bring it back home. The journey, though short, felt endless. I felt heavy with every step we took pushing the fiery red bicycle, as if we were carrying the weight of our worries. When we arrived, I saw him sitting under the house's roof next to the fiery red bicycle. He placed his hand on the seat, caressing it gently, as if trying to awaken sleeping memories. His face was filled with silent sadness, his eyes a mix of longing and surrender. I stood there, speechless, unsure how to ease his pain. That fiery red bicycle, which days ago was a source of joy and hope, had now become a new burden. For Jay, it wasn't just a vehicle. It was a symbol of years of struggle and life itself. Seeing him sitting silently beside that old iron piece, I wished for a miracle. Something to bring a smile back to his face and make that fiery red bicycle our daily source of livelihood, which we desperately needed. The next morning, before the clouds parted, Jay left the house quietly. His footsteps echoed softly on the damp ground, and feelings of tenderness and worry mixed within me. His daily work was exhausting enough, but that day he resolved to double his efforts, increase production, and earn more money to save and repair the fiery red bicycle, that daily sustenance we had relied on for years. I watched him disappear slowly along the village road, my heart filled with indescribable emotions. All these years, he bore the burden of hardship without a single complaint. Now, as the fiery red bicycle broke down and the situation grew bleaker, he didn't choose surrender or let sadness overtake him. He decided to rise and work harder, hoping to reclaim what he had lost. In his rough, calloused hands lay a testament to his struggle, sweat, and endurance. Every drop of sweat shed that day was filled with a simple yet noble dream: to bring the fiery red bicycle back to life, to ride it again on familiar roads, and to keep it as his loyal work companion. The house fell silent after his departure, and as I gathered my thoughts, I felt a need to hold on to another promise within me: to support him in everything, to share the burden, and to ensure neither of us faced the long, difficult road ahead alone. All you have to do is act at the right moment. Before taking my A to school, she was unhappy and couldn't connect with her friends. But this time, Huynh decided she couldn't let my A stay home like that. She took her to school, attended the opening ceremony, and resolved to help Maya return to her studies. Huynh believed my A could quickly bond with her friends and strive not to miss school anymore. On this journey, we cannot forget Onda, who has been a companion to the mother and my A during this time. There are still many things you can do with Huynh. I learned the best way to support Huynh through tieu. What's special here is that when receiving this gift from Onda, the mother and my A were overjoyed, believing it was just a small gift. Let's look forward to seeing what it is that made Huynh and Maya so incredibly happy.